Welcome to another edition of CPG Insiders. I'm your host, Mark Young, co-host, Justin Gerard. Justin. Well, folks, what we're going to talk about today, because we've had some of these conversations. So if you ever wonder where do the ideas come from for these shows, they come from conversations that we had this week with clients.
Most of the time.
Yeah, that's where they come from, because it's like, okay, 3 people have asked about this today. There's probably other people that want to know about this.
Right.
So let's go have that conversation. So the conversation we're going to have today is about seasonal. Now, when we say seasonal, I think people's minds immediately go to Christmas. But there are many seasons in retail.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to give you some examples. Seasons in retail. Super Bowl is a retail season.
Mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day is a retail season. Memorial Day is a season. 4th of July is a season. Labor Day, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. And then you just have seasonal. So when I say seasonal, we're thinking stuff like sun care or hand warmers. Welcome, everybody, to another edition of CPG Insiders. It is 2026. I'm your host, Dr. Mark Young, with my co-host, Robin to my Batman.
Now it's back.
It's back. Justin Gerard. Justin, every once in a while, what we like to do is, because we have the new book coming out, the 27 Rules, and the feedback we're getting on that has been great. But we cover a lot of subjects for people. And once in a while, what we like to do is just like to let people hear other people's stories.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs. And everybody, and it's funny because I'll give you an example. I'm a member of the Genius Network, a member of Strategic Coach. And in my group, I'm in the highest level of coach, as you know, and there's like 50 of us. And there's 50 of us in 50 different businesses. And we do 50 different things. And we come from 50 different places. When we're in the room, when we're in our own environment, we're kind of a unique snowflake because we're entrepreneurs. We're these crazy people who take risk and work without nets. When you put a bunch of us together, we're all the same. Even though one guy's from India and another guy's from California, everybody's the same because we are about capitalism, we are about risk, we are about the description of entrepreneurship, which the word itself means to take something from a lower level and to take it to a higher level. And that's what entrepreneurs do. We make things where something didn't exist, and we make things of value. So it's good for people to just hear other entrepreneurs' stories because, again, they're all unique, but they're all the same. And it's one of the reasons why the 27 Unbreakable Rule book we have coming out works so well, because whether you're making mashed potatoes or toenail fungus product or makeup, you're all going to go down the same path.
Right.
You're all going to have to do the same things. These are the steps, and this is how it's going to work. Because at the end of the day, our industry is an algorithm.
It is.
Because it's so massive.
Yeah, it's formulaic.
Yes, because Walmart and Target and Kroger and Costco are not going to change the way they run their company because you've got a great new item. You're going to play the game according to the rules they set.
Yes.
And that's why it works. So today we're going to talk to a guy who's become a friend of ours, Josh Hadley. Now, Hadley, they've got a company called Hadley Design, and he's the founder and CEO. They are an 8-figure e-commerce business. And interesting, you started, Josh, I'm reading this, you started at American Airlines. What did you do at American Airlines? Because that's not being an entrepreneur, by the way. And let me ask a question. When you were at American Airlines, did you feel like you were in a cage or something?
Oh, immediately. Yeah, I've got a long, I can dive right on into that story, but I came out of my MBA program from the University of Utah and went into the MBA leadership development program at American Airlines, where I
Mm-hmm.
was at where I was at for 5 years. But it was 3 months into the job where I said, I am not a corporate cog in the.
I tell people, and people who are members of Coach are all pretty good about telling people we're unemployable. That's a real
Totally
entrepreneur.
agree.
Yeah, a real entrepreneur is unemployable. So Josh has a company called Hadley Design. We're going to talk about that with him and his wife. And also, Josh, you have your own podcast called the what is it? Ecom Breakthrough Podcast.
That's right. Yep. It's where I share literally like actionable strategies to help other e-commerce business owners scale from 7 to 8 figures and even 9 figures. So I bring on super smart guests, smarter than me, and grill them on what are the strategies and tactics that need to be deployed in order to scale. Because as you mentioned, like it is formulaic. And if you can follow somebody else's path and skip a few lessons learned and mistakes to avoid, that's kind of the purpose behind the podcast.
And by the way, that's a big purpose behind the book we have coming out, the 27 Unbreakable Rules, because a big part of it is to stop people from making deadly mistakes that they can't recover from. And the tough side is when you're in the e-commerce side, you can usually recoup from your mistakes as long as you didn't go in too hard, because you can test and you can figure out how to optimize. But in the big picture brick and mortar world, it only takes a few bad moves and you're so far gone that you can't be salvaged because the numbers get so much bigger, so much faster. So let's talk about Hadley Design. Tell us about the company and how did you go from American Airlines to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'm the classic case study with the kid on the corner of the street with the candy stand or hawking lemonade, or it was selling hot chocolate during the winter. It was always like something innate in me at a very young age. I was always just trying to make a buck. Neither of my parents were entrepreneurs, but I just had this like fire inside of me.
Okay, now how
So,
old were you when you knew that you were not like the others?
oh man, I don't know that I would ever say like I knew I was not like the others. I just knew I loved business, and that's all I knew.
And how
Um,
old were you when you figured that
oh,
out?
like I was 7, 8, 9, like
That's about right.
young.
Most people say somewhere between 5 and 7.
Yep. So, but it started at a young age, and I just knew like I just loved business. It came intuitively to me. It's like, can you buy this at a lower cost, sell it for a higher cost? This is how much money I'm going to make. And, my parents always used the word like, one day you'll be an entrepreneur. And I was like, I don't even know what that word is. That's very ambiguous. Like, okay, sure. But I genuinely had no idea. And when I went to college, I still had no idea of like, all I know is I love business. And so I ended up getting an undergrad degree in finance, became the co-chairman of the Utah Entrepreneur Series at the University of Utah, where it's the largest student-run business plan competition in the nation. And that like gave me a lot of like good touches with entrepreneurs and the VC firms there in the Salt Lake City Valley. And it was just like really good exposure. It also helped me gain some valuable experience that then allowed me to go immediately do my MBA there at the University of Utah, but then helped me get that job at American Airlines. And as I already mentioned before, it was literally like 3 months into the job where, I came in there like, hey, let's go do this thing. Maybe I can become like the CEO of a Fortune 500 company, right? And like it was 3 months in, I was like, oh no, this red tape, the bureaucracy, the like kissing everybody's butt, like this thing ain't gonna fly for me. And I also just saw like the amount of wasted time. Like I'm like high energy, like I need to be doing stuff. But like literally what's funny is like I look at most of the people working at corporate organizations, maybe at best they actually get like 45 minutes of productive work done per day.
Mm-hmm.
Out of that's an 8-hour day. The rest of the time is just kind of shooting the crap on the side. You're just joking. You're just talking about the game, water cooler talk. You're going out to 2-hour lunches. Like that was kind of my experience. And I was like, okay, I don't want to do this. So what do we do instead?
Yeah, you
And
walk in and say, "Does anybody here work?"
oh my goodness, it's crazy. And like literally, there was a point where I asked my manager, I was like, what else can I do? He was like, you've done what you need to do. And I asked him like, well, can I leave for the day? Well, no, you need to be here till 5:30. Like, because if my boss walks around and doesn't see you here, so I was like, I'm just paid to like warm a chair. Like, that's what my
And
life
if you
has
did
come
go
to.
look for more things to do, you would get other people offended. You would offend other people because now you're trying to make me look bad.
Exactly. 100%. Everybody's always offended, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and my wife, so we both graduated at the same time. When we moved from Utah down to Dallas. And when we came down here, my wife's like, hey, should I look for a job? She studied early childhood education. But she didn't really want to be like a teacher. But she grew up similar to myself with a burning desire for business. She grew up just like a very talented artist. So she would win multiple, like there were national contests she entered for like greeting cards and different things that she would just enter her drawings and creative work into. And she would win a lot of them. But her parents and everybody would always say, oh, like in school, like you don't go get an art degree.
That's not
like,
a
what
real
waste of
job.
money.
Right.
And they have no idea. But so one of the things she was like, I've always loved graphic design, but I've never been able to actually learn it. Do you mind if I just like study graphic design on my own for a few months and just play around with it? And I was like, yeah, we got a good paying job now and I'm making money. We don't have any kids yet. So sure, like why not go do it? Well, she starts working with one of her friends to design like a wedding invitation, right? Just for fun. It's one of her friends getting married and she designs it and her friend's like, oh my goodness, this is like incredible. Like I have to pay you for this. And by the way, I've got another friend getting married and you have to design hers. So what do you think the business guy in me is thinking? I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that's a business
We're
opportunity.
in the wedding invitation business.
So that's exactly what we did. We literally started a custom wedding invitation business like 3 months into working at American Airlines. And I ran basically the sales process. At the time, it was when Facebook ads were really just kind of getting going.
Yeah.
And it's probably cringeworthy at this point, but like put up a Facebook ad and it was like shooting fish in a barrel. I had almost unlimited leads coming in. And then I had a sales process where I was getting people to pay deposits. These are $1,000 plus orders for custom wedding invitations. I had my wife booked solid, like it was a 6-month wait list just to work with her. So that was great. And we made, 6 figures real quick. I was like, all right, well, that's great. However, in order to scale this business, I either need to replicate my wife over and over again.
Right. Her booked out is not scalable.
No. And I was like, all right, well, finding more of people like her is going to be easier said than done. And that's when, I had also been listening to lots of other podcasts and what other entrepreneurs were doing, and selling on Amazon was the hot topic at the day, right? It was like, hey, make $1 million tomorrow by selling on Amazon. And I was like, okay, well,
I want $1 million. Sure. Let's go to Amazon.
How could we take this like stationery that she's designing and turn it into something as a product on Amazon? So one of the products people kept asking for was like recipe cards for their bridal showers. And it was like, look, you ain't paying the amount of money for these recipe cards that you would pay for wedding invitations. So it does not make sense for us to custom design
recipe
these.
Cards.
Recipe cards for bridal showers.
I did not know that was a thing. Did you know that was a thing, Justin?
Yes. Yeah.
Why do I need the recipe to the bridal shower? I don't.
Well,
It's more about being able to provide the bride with recipes. So that's the thing. It's more of an activity during, and so
Provide the bride with
the
recipes.
bridal showers are full of things to do, and
That seems very anti-women empowerment.
No, you're sharing your knowledge, and
Okay.
so.
All right.
So that's what it was. So that was our first idea, and it was like, all right, well, let's take these recipe cards that people keep requesting, let's throw them up on Amazon, because we could just hit the reorder button when we need to and ship them into Amazon's fulfillment center. So sure enough, that's what we did. That was the fall of 2016. And we did that. We sold out within the first couple months. And I was like, holy crap. I was like,
We figured this out.
We can scale this type of business. So the next year we went all in and created hundreds of SKUs of different products.
Now, are you still at American Airlines at this point?
Still at American Airlines.
Still American Airlines. Okay.
I bet moonlighting all of this time. So, and what's funny is like one of my college professors, when I was talking to him and I was sharing my updates, he's like, don't leave that, because that is your best source of venture capital without giving up equity. And I was like, that is a good mindset shift. Because as you know, Mark, like was the workload intense? No, it wasn't. So for me to be able to do that on the side was not that much of a burden.
No, you're probably checking your Amazon numbers while you're at work.
100%.
Nobody cared.
And I could see everything coming in, and it was just like, this is just a waiting game. So the benefit is, here's the hard part about a physical products business. It's inventory controlled. Mm-hmm. And so it's not, hey, great, I made all this net profit. It's like, okay, good. Well, in order to make more, you need to go buy more inventory. So it's like, oh, there goes my net profit. Mm-hmm. And the advantage we had is we had a 3-year head start. Mm-hmm. I didn't have to take any capital out of our business, and instead plowed it all back into new product, reorder. And then we were able to leave American Airlines in 2019. So I had been there for 5 years at American before I formally left. And, that's at that point we had the flywheel going where, okay, we could take distributions out of the business. But
now, did anybody American Airlines look at you a little strange when you said, I'm leaving American Airlines to go sell recipe cards?
Oh, I'm sure nobody ever said anything about it, but and I think it probably got to a point where they're like, yeah, this guy's got something else going on the side. Who knows what? So I always kept it fairly under wraps. But yeah, I'm sure they looked at, like, then I updated LinkedIn. I'm sure they looked at that and the janky website, and they're like, what is this dude doing? Mm-hmm. But, sitting behind the scenes was Amazon was our biggest flywheel. And that's how we really got our business moving. There's a lot of other twists and turns in our story, but now it's Amazon, TikTok Shop, and D2C right now on our own Shopify store. And, Mark, you and I met because one of the things on our to-do list is getting into big box retail. And mm-hmm. there's a path that we want to achieve there to, reach 9-figure.
It's doable.
If you could, really quick, because that was part of your story, because it's something when we talk about entrepreneurship, right? And this is something Mark has said time and time again, not only on this show, but to a lot of people we talk to every day. And he uses the analogy of the rope bridge, right? Mark, you said this a lot of times, that entrepreneurship is like being on a rope bridge.
Yep.
Right?
Burn all the boats.
And then what happens is you get on the bridge, and then you have to light the back of you on fire and then get to the other end, right? And so as fast as possible. And so a lot of the times we talk about, and we've talked to many businesses and entrepreneurs that come in and still, quote unquote, have their day job. Mark's like, you can't do that because you're not fully committed to the business.
There comes a time when you have to cut the string.
So what's interesting about your story, and this is why I want to talk about kind of the nuances of life, that not everything is a rule, is that you found a way to ensure that you did keep a day job, to ensure that you had that source of capital so that you could have a healthy business. But yet the nuance there is that your day job did not inhibit your ability to be all in on your business. So it's an important distinction, at least that I'm hearing, is that it's not a this or that. It's not 0 or 1. It's ensuring that you can be all in your business. That's the key. And if you have a job like you did, where you could still have a day job that gave you the source of capital, yet gave you the ability to not sacrifice the business, that's the key. So that's the distinction that I heard from your story for any entrepreneur listening, is that if your day job stops you from being able to be all in on your business from a mindset perspective, from a time perspective, that's when you have to make the call.
Yeah, he had the advantage of he wasn't a doctor seeing 50 patients a day or he wasn't a roofer that had to be on a roof of a building for 10 hours a day. He had a very unique opportunity that allowed him to balance the job and entrepreneurship for a short period of time.
Right.
But that's more, as you're saying, Justin. That's more the exception than the rule.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But he did something else that is very important, and that is he went into his business with a cash confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that we try to get people to understand is in the world of CPG, in the CPG business, yes, there are people who source some item out of China and they stick it on Amazon and they're immediately making some money. You've seen people do it. I've seen people do it. A spatula that sells, a flashlight that sells, whatever the case is. That's a short-term business. That is not a long-term business. That's a short hit.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, you can instantly make some money. The reality is, if you want to grow an 8 and 9 and 10 digit CPG business, you need to not be trying to drain the company for personal income and for personal expenses. And you need to know that there's a period of time going into that business when everything needs to go back into that business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the other thing. So let me ask you a question, Joshua, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. You did all this with your own money. You weren't out raising money.
Correct.
Okay, and I want to applaud you for that. So very often in the consumer packaged goods world, and I blame some of the business schools in Silicon Valley for this model, because the model is very much there's a lot of people that think the way to entrepreneurship is I go put a pitch deck together and I collect a bunch of other people's money. And then I go start a company with other people's money and I own a big chunk of it and I don't have any skin in that game. That is not how it works. And when you do go out and you start looking for money, you're going to give away a lot of your company. And eventually you have a job because you no longer control it. I have people come to me with business deals all the time. I literally had somebody come to me recently and, well, we only need to raise $2 million. Well, how much money do you have in it? I don't have any money in it. Do you have any patents? No. What protection do you have? None. What's your sales right now? 0. Okay, so I should give you $2 million on your unproven track record for a product that you have no patent on, that I could go to a formulator and make myself by the end of the week. Because you know how to do this better than me? Is that the reason I should give you this $2 million? Because if I have the $2 million and you don't, I know how to do something you don't know how to do. That's what a lot of the business schools have churned up. So let me ask a question. You've got an MBA. You went to business school. How much of your current life was reflected in your education?
Yeah, great question. There are principles. I'm glad I had a finance background.
Accounting, I agree with.
Because for me, being able to read a P&L and your cash basis accounting, accrual basis accounting, what the differences are, being able to put together pro forma statements and being able to decide where I'm going to invest my capital into, not picking stocks, but where am I investing my capital into, what products am I choosing to launch and why. That was a fundamental foundation for me that I'm grateful for. Now, when it comes to marketing tactics, management tactics, a lot of that stuff needs to be learned in the trenches. And Mark, I love that you brought up a lot of people think that, hey, I need to go raise, there's the Silicon Valley, let's go VC, let's go angel funding, let's go raise a bunch of capital. that is one path, right? And I think like the interesting thing about entrepreneurship is like there's a million and one ways to get to the same destination.
Mm-hmm.
I think the distinction that I think applies to the listeners here is, look, you can bootstrap a business or you can go raise money for the business. Either way, you are taking on debt. All right. So if you bootstrap a business, you are taking on management debt. Okay. And why is that management debt? Well, guess what? Do you have the funding to go bring in a bunch of people, a bunch like a COO, a head of growth marketing, things like that for your business? If you're bootstrapping it, probably not. You're not dropping 250K on salaries for that. On the other hand, if you go VC funded, what are you taking on? You're taking on debt figuratively by raising money. However, with that money, you can go hire some ballers, right? You get a COO, you get a CMO, you get those guys in place for your business. That's great. So I think there's just trade-offs, right? My risk appetite was, hey, and I think this is what happens. If you are bootstrapped, your path to growth possibly is going to be slower. And I would argue, like in general, bootstrap companies will grow slower than VC funded companies that are just keep pouring money into that business. So I would just say that's part of the reason why I was there for so long at American Airlines, is because it was like, I'm bootstrapping this thing. This thing just needs time to grow. And it's maturing every day. Every time I launch a new product, it's maturing. So I think it's the speed at which you want to go as well. More capital always helps you move faster, no matter what you are doing. But I
you
do
did
think
it the right way, and here's what I'm saying: it's okay that you grew slower, because first off, the top line shouldn't be the goal. Ultimately, the bottom line should be the goal, and you don't have to share your bottom line with anybody else. It's yours. Two, you get to make all the decisions without some board telling you that they don't want you to do something. And the third thing is, even if you wanted to raise money, because you are now a successful operation, you could raise money today and not have to give away the whole business to do it. So what I always try to tell people is, don't go looking for money when you have zero track record. Go make something work. Go sell the recipe cards. Go do the wedding invitations. Show me you can make money.
Right.
Because the more money that the more points you can put on the scoreboard, the less company you're going to give away when you do go raising money. So this is why we're always trying to tell people, stop this fundraising. I've got another job and I'm working out of my back bedroom and I want to raise $3 million. No, nobody's giving you $3 million work out of your bedroom.
Right.
Go out and make something happen.
Well,
Now
I'm curious too. There's something you brought up there, at least that I heard, let me phrase it, Josh, is the concept of patience, right? And so not only is that valuable if you're an entrepreneur, it's valuable for growing wealth in general, right? I mean,
But Josh and his wife also came at this with a level of humility.
Absolutely.
Because they didn't come after this saying, well, we want to be Hallmark cards in the next 24 months.
No, absolutely not. And so not only the value of patience, but I'd love you to kind of talk about that and your experience with it and the value of it as an entrepreneur. But the other thing I would love, even for both of you, obviously Mark is a successful entrepreneur too, is possibly to talk about when we're talking about speed of scale, right? Are there real things that may impact that timeline, where now all of a sudden there is a time frame in which you need to scale as opposed to want, right? Those are two different things. Are there real aspects of a business that entrepreneurs should pay attention to say, well, actually, if these things are in play, your timeline may have to speed up if you really want to scale? Are there things like that do exist?
Yeah. I think these are great questions. So I've got kind of like two trains of thought that I'll send you down. And one of them, I think, is like the biggest hack and secret that I think applies to all of your listeners. Anybody in CPG, this is, in my opinion, the silver bullet. And we'll talk about that. But first, let's answer your other question, Justin, which is, hey, like, are there times where you got to just like move fast, right? And yes, there are times where really it comes down to like if you have found a massive arbitrage opportunity. And this was like this was true back in the Amazon days. So what do I wish I would have done? I wish I would have had the foreknowledge that I have now of Amazon, because what should I have done? I should have taken a $5 million loan and I should have just gone and put up as many products as I possibly could have, because launching a product on Amazon in 2016, oh my goodness, like shooting fish in a barrel. Now it's a lot harder. This is
not the same anymore, is it?
This is the world's largest like e-commerce like shopping center. This is where the world's like most toughest competition really lies, right? Because anybody in the world can compete on one platform, and that's what happened. So I wish I could take that back. Now, so if you ever stumble into those opportunities, and I think this mostly comes from experience as an entrepreneur. You're probably not going to know it at the time if you're just starting out. But if you find one of those almost like lottery tickets, so to speak, where you're printing money on Meta ads, right? And there's niches where you could do that. And Meta was the same way, right? Back in the early 2010s, like some people were getting like 20 ROAS. And if you're getting a 20 ROAS, you just keep, that's printing money. You just keep pumping that thing, and you do have to go as fast as possible. Alex Hormozi talks about that, where he had found something. It wasn't necessarily like a patented idea. It's kind of like, well, the first one to get this gets all the market share, right? Like there are times where you've got to go hard and fast. I do think that either comes from a mentor that tells you from the outside looking in, dude, you've found a very niche like opportunity. Guess what? The gap will close in the next 12 to 24 months. So go hard. So that's kind of like one path, right? For me, I was more, yes, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm willing to take risks, but I also have a part of me that is risk adverse as well. And I think it comes from the family I grew up in that was, frugal, conscientious. We were middle income, right? And we weren't like poor by any means, but like the mentality of like, be saving, save for that rainy day. And, there just wasn't like an abundance mindset either. So I wasn't going to just throw caution to the wind at the same time. So that part of me played into the patience of just like, even if you were to tell me, like, if I could go back to myself 10 years ago, say, dude, go take out a $5 million loan and go launch products, I'd be like, no.
Right.
Now, would you do that today on Amazon?
For my own business?
Would you take, if you were starting today, so you don't have the infrastructure that you have now, if you were starting today,
and
how would the world be different than what it was 10 years ago?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. So any of my friends that ask me like, hey, you're killing it on Amazon. Should I launch my product on Amazon? My immediate recommendation right now is no. Like the rules of the game have completely changed.
Interesting. Expand on
Amazon.
that.
Well, I think on Amazon, they are back in the day. So like it was just Amazon was a jungle was the best way to put it.
It was a Wild West.
It was the Wild West where almost anything flew. So guess what? You had a product that you wanted to launch. Well, all you need to do is go buy some UPC code off of eBay and go ahead and list the product on Amazon. Well, that doesn't fly on Amazon anymore. What do you have to do now? You have to buy an authentic GS1 barcode. Okay, that has to be legit, has to be tied to your business. You do have to have a trademark now for your business. You also then, if you're going to sell supplements or children's toys, those all have to be safety certified or inspected. So now you're paying a few $1,000 just in safety and compliance just to get the dang thing live on Amazon. At the same token, Amazon advertising and pay-per-click has never been more expensive than it is today. And so it's for all of those reasons that it's like the marketplace has just matured, where the arbitrage opportunity was there in the early 2000s, 2010s. It's still there, but it's hard. You have to go in with a lot more capital. At back then, people could launch a product for $5,000 and make $1 million,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, like at a minimum, I would say like go in with a 50K budget and see what you could do, right? And so,
Now, by the way, now I'm older than you guys, and I go back to the same world in early DRTV
Mm-hmm.
when we could take any crazy thing you could think of, Billy Bass talking fish, and stick it on TV and sell 5 million of them. Because all of these technologies go through these maturation process. It was television, it was print.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go really back. We used to put want ads in the back of magazines and sell stuff. So it was print, it was radio, it was television. Then it was eBay and MySpace and Facebook, and you could run ads. And then it moved to Amazon. But one of the things that you have to understand with these folks is these things kind of have these hockey stick curves to them. And then reality sets in and they drop back down to normalized business. I'll tell you an industry where we've seen that. You guys have seen this. Think about in the past few years how many people have jumped into the marijuana business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make a fortune growing marijuana or having a dispensary. And guess what happens? The business grows up. I'll give you another example was back in the days of VHS runs.
Mm-hmm.
So it started off with guys carrying VHS tapes around the trunk of their cars and coming to your house renting tapes to you. Then they opened up little stores, and Blockbuster took it over. So all these businesses, all these technologies start off as a great opportunity, but then they grow up. And when they grow up, what happens is complexity. Complexity always takes it over.
complexity and competition,
Yep,
right? Because it's no longer the secret. So do you want to hear my predictions of what the arbitrage
absolutely.
opportunities are right now in
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
2026? If I'm to look at my crystal ball for what it's worth. All right. I think that TikTok Shop is coming off of an arbitrage opportunity. I still think it's there, but it's getting harder increasingly every day. And
Hmm.
their development path is their 1 year in TikTok Shop world is like 3 years of Amazon's development world. So like
Mm-hmm.
they're moving fast. Things are changing that way. Still a good opportunity though. I think there's some arbitrage that can be made there. The next one that I foresee coming that nobody yet knows what this will actually look like, but it is the agentic commerce, right? It is, and Google just announced this, that there will be an integration. They are integrating with Shopify clients and Etsy and things like that um, in their Gemini LLM. And so as people are looking, what I believe will eventually happen is, they're going to rely on their agents or their AI bots or whatever to
Yep.
recommend the right products to them, which now means first mover advantage to AEO, AI engine
Mm-hmm.
optimization. And so that's where I believe, like, if somebody's like, I'm just looking for my first opportunity, like, if you're doing that, like, don't go on Amazon, TikTok Shop, maybe. Don't go Shopify and Meta. Like, don't go like retail yet. Like, I would just say, like, can you carve out this little niche for yourself in the market? Because if you do, I think you can hit it big. So that's what I foresee is like in the CPG space. Like, I think that's where the puck is moving.
What would you guys have been in business for what now? 10 years, 12 years?
10 years. Yeah.
10 years. Um, what do you wish what do you wish you'd have known 10 years ago that you know now?
Yeah. Great question. This comes back to, so Justin, I told you there was a secret.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the secret hack of all CPG companies. I wish I would have known this earlier because I don't think I would have had to have waited that level of patience that I had to have. I don't think I would have had to have had that if I understood this. What is your cash conversion cycle? And this is where I think most physical product based brands get screwed up. If there is one thing, to be honest with you, anybody listening to this that has a CPG brand, your number one priority right now is getting your cash conversion cycle to a negative cash conversion cycle. So, what does that mean? It means that the money comes in to your bank account before you ever pay that supplier. Is it possible? Yes. And I know brands that it is happening for. And that is the number one. If you can figure that out, that is the linchpin. That is the one thing that will unlock growth everywhere else in your business. Because get this, part of the reason why I had to wait so long and sit at American Airlines for so long was the fact that I had terrible payment terms. Okay.
With your contractors?
Not with my contractors, but just my manufacturer.
Yeah, your supplier.
My manufacturer required 100% upfront payment from the moment I placed that PO.
Which is not unusual with an unknown company.
True, right? So everybody has to start somewhere, right? Like, and you've got, this is something I'm saying, like, if you've got a few years of business under you and you have a track record, this is the number one priority. I would say, like, you've got to go after this. And it took me time to where I was like, oh, duh, go, like, this is your one thing, go negotiate this. It's not about the cost of the product, right? You can negotiate nickel and dime your manufacturer to bring it down a few pennies here and there. That's fine. However, your most important thing is negotiating payment terms with your manufacturer. So here's basically what was happening. I would spend all of my money, 100% payment at the time I placed the PO.
I've done it.
We were manufacturing in the US, so it was quick. So it took 2 weeks. Then it's being shipped into Amazon. By the time Amazon receives it, into their warehouses, I'm 3 to 4 weeks in. So, like, my money's been tied up doing absolutely nothing for 4 weeks. Then I'm going to start making some sales on Amazon, but not for all of the units that I made, for some of them. Well, guess what? Now Amazon's going to take their sweet time to pay me. So it's going to be another 2 to 4 weeks before I even ever see any money. So what ultimately was happening is, like, I had an 8-week gap, at least at a minimum, to where I wasn't, like, the money is just doing absolutely nothing for me. Now get this. What if you change your payment terms to net 120 days?
Which, by the way, in retail is many of the payment terms of the big retailers.
Yep. So, and it's definitely possible. And guess what that means? It means you need to work extremely closely with your manufacturer. Who is your number one relationship with and number one business partner for CPG brands? It's your manufacturer. If you can, so in an e-commerce point of view, not taking retail into consideration, but from retail or from e-commerce only, if I can get net 120-day terms, even if that's coming from China, right? I can get that product. It gets on the water. It may take 45 to 60 days, but by that, I'm receiving it in Amazon within 60 to 70 days after that has been shipped. Okay. I make money for 2 months before I've ever paid my supplier. And I've got money coming into my bank account before I've ever paid for that. When that happens in your business, you've unlocked, figuratively, infinite scale, because at that point, I can go launch as many products as I want, because who's funding the product launches? Well, the customers are, right? Because they're actually paying for it. Now, you could obviously get yourself upside down if you have repeated product flops time and time again. But if you're a wise entrepreneur that like, with a level of confidence, you have a 75% hit rate or whatever it is, you can financially model this out. And so that has been the biggest unlock.
Now, some of these deals are hard to cut up front, folks, because you're unknown. But there are some things you can do, even as you're working toward that. Some of the things that we've helped people do with their manufacturers is getting the manufacturers, as an example, to produce an inventory. So the manufacturer's holding the inventory, and releasing the inventory in a just in time kind of model. Another thing you can do if you have the wherewithal is to use letters of credit instead of cash. So a letter of credit is you give somebody a letter from the bank, and the bank says, yes, this person has the ability to pay for this, and we, the bank, will guarantee that payment 120 days from now. Because now the manufacturer at least knows the money exists and knows you're not just trying to get them to manufacture products and you don't have the ability to pay for it. This is one of the things that works well in Justin, you know this, in direct response television. Because when we start people in direct response television, typically they have to pay for their media, a week or two in advance. But if they establish a good track record, which you can do pretty quickly, all of a sudden you can get 30-day terms on your television. So when you have 30-day terms on your TV, you just ran media today. Let's say you have a product that has an MER of 2. That means you put $1 into television and $2 come back. You just spent $100,000 in television. You have $200,000 in sales. That money's in your bank before it's time to write that check for $100,000 to the television network. So much like with your manufacturers, as you're right, that's going to be a big relationship. But once you turn to mass marketing, that's going to be your big expense. And in many cases, the marketing's a bigger expense than making the product.
So do you want to hear my hack for that with Amazon?
Absolutely.
All right. Because obviously you can see this financial background coming into fruition for me. Okay. So on Amazon, you can change your advertising settings if you reach out to their support. At default, they will bill you every $500 in ad spend. Okay. That's default. If you have a decent track record, which I think is like a year of ad spend, you reach out to their support, you can get them to charge you only after you've spent $10,000. Okay. So, but that's
$10,000 cool. Of their money.
It's better. Okay. So, I mean, let's say you are spending $500 a day. Well, great. Now that's going to take you 20 days till you are actually going to be billed. Okay, great. That's fine. Okay. But here's where it gets sexy and fun. Number one, I'm a big credit card, point hacking guy. There's a bunch of credit cards that will quadruple or triple your whatever ad spend you have with points. So use those cards. So we have many, many, many credit cards. And what we do is my accounting team and finance team, what they're going to do, every day they will send me, hey, Josh, begin using this card. Now, why do I begin using this card? Yes, it is partially for points, but the main thing is the cash flow. So here's the way it works. If I start spending on that card on the statement start date, so $10,000 gets charged, and then guess what? My statement doesn't close for another 30 days.
Right.
Then after that, I've got another 25 days until I actually have to pay the darn bill. Right? So now I've floated capital for 55 days. Right? So the longer you make that, the more negative your cash conversion cycle becomes. That's where the infinite scalability comes.
Right. And you can get, American Express and some of the other cards. We've got some cards here that give us 1.5% back. And so, a lot of times you can use a cash back card and literally reduce your cost of the ads by 1.5%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just by doing the cash back or using the points. You'll appreciate this, Josh. You may be in the same position. I've got 4 million points in my Amex account right now.
Right.
Sounds like you need to do more first class traveling.
I've had as many as 7 million in it. What's next for your company?
Yeah, I think retail is the mountain that we want to climb. And right now we're honing in our Shopify storefront. Right now, our plan is to 5X just on Shopify sales alone this year. So we're investing more on the digital ads side of things. We'll continue to Amazon will always be there. I see Amazon just becoming the catch-all, right? It's no longer where I make the money. It is
It's
the
a
catch-all.
retailer.
Yep, it is a retailer. And after having many conversations with you guys, like that's the mindset shift, right? Is hey, be at all those places. We're building that credibility. But when you get into retail, that's where the brand becomes, I don't know, call it like you've hit prime time, so to speak. Like you're a known brand. So that's Mark, that's the path.
It's funny. I was at a mall over the weekend. I was at a mall in Boca Raton, very nice mall, and I'm just looking at the stores, and it was Untuck literally in a row, Warby Parker, Collars and Company, Casper, and I'm going down to down to down. It's like every one of these stores is a digital brand who realized 80% of the world is buying their products out of a store. And try it out. Just walk down the mall. It's like, oh my God, this entire line, this entire aisle is nothing but digital brands who made the jump. In this case, these were the brands that made the jump into their own retail. But walk inside the drugstore and you have the same event. Where's Harry's at now? Where's Mando at now? Where's Lumi at now? Where's Scrub Daddy at now? All started as digital brands, but to become the brand they are today required two things. One, it required brick and mortar. And what's the other thing they all share? Television. Even Amazon spends 85% of their budget on TV. And they are the digital platform. How can people learn more about your podcast? And we'll put the notes in. We'll put those in the show notes, of course.
Yep. If people want to go to ecombreakthrough.com, that's ecom with 2 M's. They can find it there, but it's also on all the podcast platforms that are out there. So Apple, Spotify, wherever you like to consume it, just look up Ecom Breakthrough.
And how do they find Hadley Design?
So go check out our website, hadleydesigns.com. Find us on Amazon, TikTok Shop, Shopify, our website.
Josh, it's great having you here. I really appreciate you being honest and opening up and letting people hear, because it's always trying to tell people the world of entrepreneurship, it is working without a net. And it is not, will there be hard times or will there be problems? No, there's going to be problems. That's the nature of the business. And this is one of the keys that people I think sometimes don't grasp about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship, we make our money by solving other people's problems. That's what we do. You solve problems. I need a wedding invitation. I want something unique. I want something better. Whatever the case is, we're just solving other people's problems. So we don't want to run from the problem because the problem's the opportunity. But it's a problem. So you have to figure out how to solve it. Well, folks, if you like today's show, make sure you go wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that. If you're not subscribed to the podcast, hit the little subscribe button, and then you'll get every podcast that comes out. How often does our podcast come out, Justin? Is it every 10 days or something?
Every 2 weeks. Yep.
Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks. All right. Maybe we might even increase that cadence. I don't know. We've talked about it.
Yeah, we talked a lot about it.
Because we have a great audience. We really appreciate all the people that listen to this. And just humbled by the fact that people spend so much time with us. And that's why we're always trying to bring people value, because I get it. This is an hour of your time. An hour of your time is incredibly valuable, and you can't get that back. So we really take that seriously. If you ever want to get a hold of Justin and I, it's easy to do. You can go to cpginsiders.com, or you can go to jekyllhydelabs.com. And if you want to learn more about who I am, you can go to meetmarkyoung.com. Now, by the way, my son has themarkyoung.com. He actually beat me to getting themarkyoung.com. So That's why we're in up with meetmarkyoung.com. That's it for today. Josh Hadley, thanks, buddy. We'll hope to talk to you again soon. And we'll see you on the next episode of CPG Insiders. If you're looking to greatly increase sales on your CPG product, don't hesitate to contact us at Jekyll & Hyde Advertising and Marketing. By the way, the only advertising agency with a guaranteed result. Just go to jekyllhydeagency.com or feel free to give us a call at 800-500-4210.